Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Talks. My name is Michael Bertoni and I'm the founder and CEO of Philly Tech. And I host Tech Talks every week, Wednesdays at 12:30 p.m. from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And again, what is Tech Talks? Tech Talks is for all the people in the audience that are entrepreneurs, software companies, tech startups, really anyone out there, guys, that has an idea, right? This show is for you and your success. I personally have over 20 years of experience working with these companies, helping them succeed, helping them grow revenues, helping them find people, helping them develop software. And I'm so excited to be talking with you today. I'm really excited for today's show because I brought in with me Robert Snyder, who is my head of business development with Philly Tech. So great to see you, Robert.
Great seeing you again.
Yeah. So Robert is unbelievable, guys. So he is like a Terminator in terms of working for me and he heads up all my recruiting. He heads up all my lead generation, right? And unbelievable, right? So behind the scenes, clients that work with me, you're working with Robert. So what we're really going to talk about in this show, and I'm really excited to talk about, is Robert's journey into becoming full-time with Philly Tech, right? So Robert started at Temple. He was part of my intern incubator program, right? So we're going to start really just with Robert describing, his, introduction to himself, your background, Robert. Tell the audience kind of what you did before Temple, what's your background, that sort of thing.
So I recently graduated from Temple University. My major was international business with a marketing focus. So some of the stuff I do at Philly Tech is my forte. I'm usually really good at lead gen because with my marketing background, I was able to create strategies and how to implement some of the campaigns we're doing in class.
Yeah.
Now, originally, I was interested in Japan because I was interested in technology. I liked how they were innovative with technology, like they excel in robotics and artificial intelligence is a new trend that can really take advantage of the expertise. So as I was learning more about this type of stuff, I started getting more interested in tech, especially blockchain.
Yeah.
Then since I took a class for my major, it was an internship class that was required. Right. That's how I got into this company, Philly Tech.
Right.
And I've loved it ever since because it combines my passion and interest for technology, as well as my marketing expertise for my major.
Yeah, so Robert, I've been running an intern incubator program through Temple for the last 5 years. And if there are folks listening here from Temple, I got to tell you thanks, right? So I've been bringing in interns from international business school, marketing, entrepreneurship. They come in, it's a complete win-win. And they learn how to do what I call hacker marketing, which is a combination of how we do recruiting and how we do lead gen. So Robert, tell the audience a little bit about your experience in the intern program. So you came in as an intern, right? And you were here, you started for 3 months. Tell the audience about your experience doing that, in the beginning. What do you remember about those beginning stages of that program?
But what I like about Philly Tech is it's a startup environment. So usually at big companies, they just tell you to just listen and do this and that, but I get to have creative freedom and create my own campaigns. We always adapt to see which one works. So we're always testing out multiple campaigns, see which is more effective on behalf of Philly Tech and our clients. So we were just delving into stuff and I found out that I specialize in recruiting the most. So we started finding leads, then we had a staffing gig on that behalf of that lead. Then we just utilized a strategy called hyper-targeting, where we would just go through Mike's LinkedIn profile, which has over 15,000 first connections. We're top 1% on LinkedIn for all this type of stuff. Yeah. And it's extremely effective because we use an email finder to find their emails. Right. And when we're trying to send them the job rec, the way we differentiate ourselves from other recruiting companies is we write an amazing rec. You got to get them excited about it. It's not just telling them what they had to do for this job and the salary. You got to get them interested in it. Right.
So guys, I created this process, right? So basically the way I do recruiting and the way I do lead gen, it follows a very, very similar process. So I had all these ideas in my head. I was doing it myself. And then I saw Robert. Robert came in. He was amazing. He took to what I wanted to do. He learned it, and then he started implementing it. And I remember Robert with his headphones on, sitting just chugging away and doing these activities. So basically, the process that we use for recruiting and lead gen is, I'm going to talk about it at a high level here, but I want Robert to kind of talk about it in terms of what does he do, right? So I had this framework, right? It starts with data. Everything that I do starts with data. So when I'm doing recruiting, right, or I'm doing lead generation, it starts with data, right, about what's happening as well as content, right? So it starts there. And then what we do is we build messaging, right? So Robert had mentioned that there is a rec, a job rec. So when we're trying to find candidates, that is the piece of content we want people to open, and we want it to be great, right? Then we hyper-target people, right? So I'm gonna let Robert talk about it, right? So Robert, talk to the audience about the process for starting with data acquisition. Now, Robert, actually, we have about 5 people that roll to Robert now, right? So we've expanded the team, but tell the audience about the process for data acquisition, right? What's data acquisition? Let's start there.
So regarding data acquisition, we try to find some background information for like potential leads for both recruiting and just for Philly Tech for getting more clients. So we would try to look at the background, maybe in a LinkedIn profile or any news source they were cited in. And we use that data to personalize email messages or just messages in general to get their attention, like, hey, we saw you recorded in this article, or that was an interesting post that you just did, and we liked the post, of course, to get them notified about it. We just try to find any way to get their interest so we can just have them reply to the email or any message.
Yeah, so there's 2 use cases, guys. So there is roughly about 500 software companies, which are, again, are our targets. 500 companies, right, that we're trying to get into, right? So tell the audience at a high level, Robert, for that use case, what are we building? Like, what are you building, which is awesome. You've been building it for like a couple years now, right? What are you building? Like, explain just high level to the audience, what is that database that we're building?
So it's like a master target company list for just tech companies in the Philly regions and maybe outside of it, because we're expanding our outreach. It's like a list where you're always following up with our clients, because it's important to follow up so we can make sure they've seen the message and just make sure they're interested in it. And on top of that, we use it for just our campaigns. We always are innovating and creating new campaigns, so we can retarget them again to see which one's more effective, as well as to see just general updates if they're looking for like sales or recruiting. Because as time passes by, they may have different needs. And with that database, we're always updating and keeping track of it so we can just effectively target people.
Yeah, so in this database, guys, there's some key information that nobody is really, nobody's really trying to get this information. And I call it critical data, right? So it has all your normal things like company name, first name, last name, title. We're obviously targeting all of the founders, CTOs, VPs of engineering, executive team in software and tech companies, right? It has their email, it has their phone number. But Robert, I want you to tell the audience, because I've trained you on this, like, what is, in your mind, critical data about, say, a company or a CTO or an executive? What are you trying to find when you're building that database in terms of the critical data?
We usually look at trigger points where they would need our service. For instance, if they've recently got funded, that's a good point, because we know that they're going to be hiring soon because they get funding for a reason, or they may just have more salespeople they need to start promoting their product. On top of that, we also try to see their position. If like they're a lead person in their company, we know they know enough to know that they may need our services.
Right.
And they also have a whole bunch of course, people within our networks that can maybe refer us to other people. And another one is, of course, their contact info. Like, rather than just emailing the whole time, we can use an aggressive strategy of just trying to call them directly or leaving a voicemail with their phone number if we're able to get it.
So guys, that's the process for lead generation, just data, right? So now we're going to shift. Process for recruiting data, right? So I get a new client, right? A new software client, and they need to hire 3 engineers, right? So I have Robert, so I'll frame it up, and then Robert can talk about it. I say, Robert, let's build the database. So he spends about a week building a database of all of the A candidates for those roles, right? A targeted database of those roles. So Robert, tell the audience how you do that at a high level, and I want you to talk about LinkedIn, and I want you to also just touch on the tools, the awesome tools that we brought in to help find the contact details.
So firstly, before we build a database, look at the amazing job rec that Mike writes. So we would look at the key requirements like the programming skills like Python and so on. And it's not just building a database, but we leverage pre-built databases we built in the past that has everybody's contact info. So we can increase our speed in recruiting these people. Now, some of the key stuff we look for is or the tools is we use email finders to find their email, and sometimes it's the phone number as well. And aside from just relying on an email finder, we try to leverage stuff on a LinkedIn profile. Like if they have a GitHub account, we can try to find their email on there. Maybe they have their email within like their summary of their profile, so we don't have to use a credit for that. And we also can just use a LinkedIn credit to make sure they see the message.
Yeah.
So we use multiple avenues of communication to try to get to them, and we also further expand our outreach to like communities of interest. I could get people on Facebook, Meetup, GitHub, and Slack.
Yeah.
Just to make sure they see our message. And of course, we do multiple campaigns through those communication channels.
Yeah.
Just post on Facebook, LinkedIn, just the job ad in general to make sure they get. Then we would start inputting all that data in like a database like Google Sheets or Excel. And we continually update it based on the profile in real time to make sure that either they're still looking or if they got hired or they're still interested.
Yeah, so guys, when we do, again, data is extremely important. Again, lead generation, right? We're doing lead generation daily, running campaigns for Philly Tech and for clients using the same process. For recruiting, again, that's what a lot of clients come to us for in the beginning is recruiting, right? Because it makes the most sense. Robert, just before we go to break here, tell the audience the robustness of this database of people that you have built, right? In terms of, so imagine guys, a database of C#, Java, front-end technologies, back-end technologies, all the A candidates in the entire region, right? So we're doing a project and we kick it off. How many people start from the framework of, you already have a database probably built, right? But you need to build upon it. How many people ultimately are you hyper-targeting for, our last great client where we placed 3 people, right? How many people are you targeting in that database?
Oh, it's like in the hundreds, maybe sometimes the 500, depending on our clients' needs and just the demand of the job rec. Sometimes it has easy skills a lot of people possess. Sometimes they're rare. It all depends on the job rec. But like this list is massive. It has like thousands of people in it. And rather than just using completely tailored lists of those programming skills, I've created a master contact list where I can see everybody's contact info. So in case I've already seen them on LinkedIn, I can just refer to that list. I already have their contact info.
Right.
So this helps me effectively target them more while saving LinkedIn credits and other ways.
Yeah, so guys, come on back to Tech Talks in a few minutes. This is super powerful stuff. We are one of the only companies that I know of that directly hyper-targets. We do everything else that everybody's doing, right? We're posting jobs and job boards. We're doing all of those things. We're going to our network, but we're hyper-targeting, right? And I'm going to come back to Tech Talks in a few minutes because I want to talk about the use cases of this and why it's important to you. So come on back to Tech Talks in a few minutes.
I work 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So when I'm off the clock, I gotta get stuff done. So when I need a snack, I need something healthy, tasty, and easy to eat. Like wonderful pistachios without the shells. They're protein-powered, delicious, and great on the go. And that's perfect for me.
Thanks, Liz.
A woman without a lot of time.
Whether you're a gourmet cook or just want to eat like one, visit Rostelli Market Fresh, your home for the freshest, locally sourced ingredients to please everyone who loves great food. Our organic meats, quality seafood, and free-range poultry are cut fresh to order. Chefs create culinary-inspired prep foods made fresh every day, which pair nicely with our vast selection of fine wines and spirits. Choose from handmade pastas, artisan cheeses, organic produce, and grocery items, all from the finest purveyors. Rostelli Market Fresh, from our family to yours.
RVN TV is a platform for people of any industry to share their story. Over 285,000 viewers are tuning in to RVN TV shows monthly. We guarantee a great experience that you'll be sharing with everyone you know while increasing your personal and company's brand awareness. But what is your brand? According to Forbes, it's a combination of your logo.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Tech Talks. My name is Michael Bertoni and I'm the founder and CEO of Philly Tech. And I'm so excited to be talking with you today, guys, because I brought in Robert Snyder, who is my head of business development, really to get into the bits and bytes of what he is doing specifically for recruiting and lead generation, right? So what we're gonna focus on right now is the value to you, right, and your business. So we talked in the last segment about data. Data is the foundation, which everybody knows out there, of everything that we do. And it becomes the starting point for our value proposition, right? Key data, the most important data, the best data. Now, what I'm gonna talk about is the process specifically for recruiting and what we do. So I personally spend about 3 or 4 hours. So if you bring jobs to me, I spend about 3 or 4 hours writing a job requirement. That is so important. People do not care about doing that a lot of times. Why am I doing this? Because Robert is going to be targeting people that are working, right? So this is very important to understand, guys. When you post a job, when you put something on Indeed, right? The only people that are looking at that job are people who are looking for a job. If there are 500 engineers in the region that might be looking at your job, right? If you're only posting jobs on Indeed, 10% or less of those people are looking at your job, right? So I write this unbelievable job rec, and that is the piece of content that we build, right? So now I'm gonna pass it over to Robert. So Robert, explain to the audience the process of what you're doing now when you are sending messages, say to the 500 people, right? You're actually sending these messages. What are you doing? How are you doing that?
So the way I do it is I would just look on their LinkedIn profile quickly and just screen it for the type of programming skills they have, because we don't have a resume in front of us, so we just kind of have to wing it with their profile to see what they have available. But aside from just hyper-targeting, one of the things that differentiates us is our ATS. I mean, we post in like over 20 different job boards. So we have this stuff working in the background, and we just leverage hyper-targeting to make sure we get people in the pipeline.
Right, right.
Now, when we're targeting these people, of course, Mike mentioned the job rec, we make it very exciting. We put that in the heading of the email as well as like the LinkedIn message, because you have to excite them, just to get them interested in the job. Because if it's just boring and bland, I mean, why should they work there? But if they have like amazing perks, the CEO just got like, they had a previous company acquired, I mean, it just excites them.
Yeah. Yeah, so guys, I mean, think about this for a second. I want to boil this down. So I write an unbelievable job rec for your job, right? I have a database of people, right? Robert runs a campaign to 150 people that are ideal people for your job. What do you think is going to happen? People are going to come back. They're going to be interested, right? I have seen this time and time again. I go back at the actual hires we made. You know, Robert had mentioned that we posted job boards, 20 different job boards. We have an ATS. That's great, right? Those things are great. When I look at the actual hires where people are coming, they came from Robert's hyper-targeting, right? He's onboarding them in, right? Sending these messages out, constantly sending these messages out through LinkedIn, through email, things like that, onboarding them in. And so after you onboard them in, Robert, and now they're interested, right? And they post their job to the ATS, or they send us their resume. Tell the audience how you set me up for success. What do you do? And then how do you set me up for success in terms of getting it on my calendar?
So when the potential client or the potential customer is interested in the job rec, I just screen their resume when they apply. Then I would refer it over to Mike and schedule it on his calendar. Now what Mike really specializes in is selling them that job. That's very important. You gotta have an amazing rec, and you have to be able to sell the job to them.
Right.
To not only explain it, but to get them excited and to make sure they'll get the job, as well as, of course, they have to fit the job rec and everything.
Right. So I have this. So Robert is just constantly doing this, guys, in the background. He's feeding me people, right? I'm getting them pumped up about the job. These are candidate people that are working. These are the people you want working for you, right? And again, I tell you guys, I'm not going to get into the bits and bytes of the rest of the recruiting, but that process of Robert hyper-targeting, that whole process of bringing people to me, right? That's really our key differentiator. I really know how to get the people excited. I know then how to streamline the process for the client to do recruiting, all those things. But the most important part is the hyper-targeting. Kind of shifting over to lead generation for clients. We do the exact same thing, right? However, instead of that great job rec, right, that great job rec that we wrote, that's selling the candidate on coming in, we have something we've built called a digital CV, okay? The digital CV is the thing that captures the essence of your value proposition as a company, as a software product. It's the thing that someone opens, and it's the thing that generates a lead. So in terms of lead generation, because you've done it, Robert's done it for Philly Tech for a long time, but then he's done it also for clients. So I'll tell the audience about that process, which again is very similar, right? A little bit different though. What I want you to talk about, which again, I've trained Robert on how to do this. I have literally subject line. Robert, subject line, warm up. I want you to tell the audience, I get excited about this. Tell the audience about those things. Like what's the subject line? What's the warm up? What's that? Tell them about that message you're sending to someone.
So we leverage all the data we've acquired in our massive database, and we try to make the subject line and everything in the email cater towards them. So with that data, we try to personalize as much as possible. Of course, we'd mention their company name or just like congratulating them on funding or mentioning them in an article they were recently mentioned in, so that helps, get their attention. But aside from that, we have a digital CV, which not only summarizes what we do, but it's a beautiful, interactable picture image where you're not only able to just see what we do, but you can click on like links to our profile or other social media related stuff, and you can just schedule a free consultation for that. So when we send the message, you see this beautiful image pop up, and that usually, it complements just the words that's in the email, as well as like it just attracts your attention towards it.
Yeah, and this is why the data, guys, is so critical. So if I'm working for a software company and I'm basically doing business development or sales, so I have the capabilities to do chief sales officer, chief revenue officer, head of business development, lead generation, all those things for a software company, right? But again, like I say, the biggest and most important thing is if I serve up a great lead for you, right? Meaning Robert's helping me do this. If I serve up a great lead and I say, hey, here's a great lead, right? I learned in previous companies that I worked for that if I bring a great lead to you, there's a real good chance you can close it, right, yourself. I help optimize from there. I help improve the processes for how you do sales, maybe how you do CRM, how you present, how you do demos. I do all those things. But again, if you're not getting great leads, who cares, right? If you're not getting ideal fit leads, who cares, right, for your software company? So again, Robert, so tell the audience a little bit more about the processes, your daily routines. See, Robert is really good at, tell the audience what we just did this week. I have a bunch of tasks I have to do. My company's growing. Robert says to me, Robert, what did you say to me in the office 2 days ago when we were looking at my calendar?
So it was just kind of like a status update meeting. So Mike has he's always busy with a whole bunch of stuff. So we had to prioritize tasks effectively, like following up with people to just get more clients, as well as getting a status update instead of our campaigns we're doing. And through that, we see which ones we have to prioritize first, which ones we should be effectively targeting first in order to get the best results.
Yeah.
Then we would just leverage that and just target the other companies we got to focus on.
Yeah, so guys, Robert came to me, right? I've got 100 tasks, right? Robert took 40 of them and said, Mike, I'm going to do these for you. Everybody can learn from that, guys. We're stuck on working in the business, right? We need to work on the business. I'm like, Robert, geez, wow, you could take these 40 things off my plate and just do them? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God. But he came to me and said, Mike, I could help you with this stuff, right? It was phenomenal, guys, especially, again, if we're having a bad day or something's up. You need to leverage the people on your team to achieve success, right? So what I want to challenge you with, guys, is if you have recruiting needs, if you're a software company, a tech startup, an entrepreneur, and you have recruiting needs, you need to hire people, or you need to find people to do something for you, please reach out to us, right? Please reach out to us to see how we could help you. The second thing is if you need more customers, if you want to drive revenue, if you just have an idea, right, you got to get your idea out there, right? If you need to bring in more revenue, more customers, it starts with lead generation, guys. Got to have a process to do lead generation, right? So thank you for coming to Tech Talks, and make sure you tune in every week at 12:30 p.m. every Wednesday. And again, Robert, thanks a lot for coming in, and it's been great having you on my team, man.
Pleasure
It's
being
awesome
here.
having Robert on my team. Take care.